Trauma has a way of seeping into our relationships, even without us realizing it. Have you ever shut down emotionally when things just got too overwhelming? Or overreacted to something that maybe your partner said and then you just really regretted it later on? Maybe also felt like no matter how much you love and how much love was there, you just struggled to really feel safe. I'm sure that you have probably identified with some of them, if not all of them. For me, I identify and have in the past with all of them. I look forward to diving into this topic with you later today because this is a really important and deep subject that we're going to be exploring together. And welcome here. My name is Evette Rose. I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. Guys, remember just also quickly subscribe and stay also up to date and join me every Wednesday for my free masterclasses. And you can register at matmasterclass.com. So, if you related to some of the topics and points that I mentioned earlier, then let me tell you, you're not alone. Trauma doesn't just live in the past. It actually lives in our nervous system, and it's constantly shaping the way that we love, trust, and also connect. But here's the good news. You don't have to let trauma define your relationships. Healing is possible, not just alone, but actually together. So today we're going to dive deeply into the psychology and also the neuroscience behind how trauma affects relationships. And more importantly, how to heal actually as a team. You see, trauma wires your brain for protection, not connection. So if you have been hurt in the past, your brain learned survival patterns. Trust is dangerous. Love is unpredictable. Vulnerability leads to pain. All these points is now pattern programs. And the neuroscience behind this is that trauma overactivates the amygdala, our fear center, and it's making you hypersensitive to threat, even in safe situations. So your prefrontal cortex, right, the rational thinking brain, it weakens, making emotional regulation so much harder. And your body gets stuck in that fight, flight, freeze, and fawn mode as well, causing you on top of that to react automatically rather than respond intentionally. Now, what this means is that sometimes your partner isn't the problem. It's your brain, and it's just replaying all these old responses. Now, here is what not to do in the relationship. Do not shame yourself or your partner for reacting emotionally sometimes. Ignore the wounds that are surfacing. Don't ignore that. Don't also assume that your trauma means that you can't have a healthy relationship. Now, here is what to do. Recognize the difference between the past, meaning your old wounds, and the present, your current relationship as well. Learn to regulate your nervous system before reacting. Be open about your triggers without blaming your partner as well. Because how trauma shows up in a relationship and what to do about it, that's a whole nother blend. Because trauma doesn't just always look like flashbacks and breakdowns. Sometimes it's hidden in the way that you actually interact with your partner. I'm sure that you are familiar with like that push-pull dynamic, right? That fear of abandonment versus also that fear of intimacy. Like come closer, but don't come too close, right? You crave love, but when someone gets too close, you panic. Now it's stress mode, right? You feel emotionally distant, but when your partner pulls away, you feel stressed and now you feel abandoned. So how do you heal together? Let's have a look. One of the great ways to start is instead of reacting impulsively, have like a code word where you both can pause and you will always agree to respect that. Because if one, there's no point of having a code word and then one person's angry because you use the code word. For example, I love white flag and red flag. Red flag means I need to regulate myself before I continue this conversation. I want to continue it, but I need to regulate myself right now. And red flag means stop. That means whatever the argument is about, you need to stop. Whether you're yelling, you're upset, whatever it is, immediately. It's like a handbrake in an emergency situation. Stop. White flag means I love you, I'm sorry, and this is not important enough for me to fight with you over it, and I hear what you're saying. Now the other person might say, but I'm not done talking. In that case, if you say white flag, be strong enough in yourself then also to realize and say, okay, you know what, this is just not important for me, but it's important for my partner, and I love my partner, so I'm going to hear what they have to say. But for the other person, remember, white flag means speak also kindly. It doesn't mean you can continue screaming. That's abuse, right? Talk calmly, but say what you need to say. So this is normally a method that works really well. You don't have to use the red flag or the white flag, but have your code words and have rules for what the code words mean. This what I shared with you, they are just, for example, examples, right? Another one also is to pause and ask yourself, am I responding to my partner or the past? So this is something that really deeply helped me a lot, because it also practices what? Self-awareness, right? So another way to improve relationships together as a team is to practice secure attachment habits. For example, send fun, reassuring messages to one another. Give space without also withdrawing love, and communicate openly. The worst thing that you can do in a relationship is you know what the person's pain point is. For example, they fear abandonment, and then to abandon them as a punishment after an argument. That is a terrible thing to do. That's becoming almost like, quite frankly, an abuser in quite a really mean way. So be mindful also of not doing that. Awareness and having understanding and knowing your partner really well, that information should be used to cultivate a beautiful, loving relationship. It should never be used as a weapon against your partner, because you know what's going to happen? You're going to lose their trust. And when you lose a partner's trust, that relationship's pretty much over, unless you work really hard at rebuilding that trust, because you will never feel safe in that relationship. Now, the next step also to work on together is hyper reacting to conflict, right? This is when you, for example, have emotional flashbacks. So that's when like a small argument feels like a massive rejection, right? You shut down, you lash out, and you spiral into anxiety. This is a good place to know and understand each other's weaknesses and also each other's strengths, and to be conscious of certain words and movements that can be used that would upset a person, right? But that also takes awareness. So practice awareness in the relationship. Now, another beautiful way of actually healing together is to use grounding techniques before reacting. For example, if you are both really angry, breathe together. Do breath work together right there. You might actually find yourself laughing at the end, because it's like, you'll start to realize, oh God, what was so activating about the whole situation in the first place? Because you're both regulating at the same time. That is the best. Also, I find that I'm going to share a tip with you, something that really worked for me as well. If you're having an argument with your partner, please never argue in your bedroom, in the kitchen where you digest your food, or in the living room where you socialize with one another. Always move to an area that can be like the laundry room, or a different part of the house, or a specific corner in the house, so that you don't start to associate a place where you are meant to rest with conflict, because you consciously will not remember it. But your subconscious mind, this is called patterning. it's going to remember it and it's going to elicit that anxiety every time when you go into that space. Remember that. That's really, really important. Another point also is be open with your partner. Tell them how trauma affects your reactions so that they can start to respond with more understanding and not with defensiveness. Another point in relationships that they often go through challenges such as that avoidance of deep emotional connection, right? So if you struggle to be vulnerable, even when you want to, you might find that you numb yourself, right? Keeping emotions at a safe distance. And a beautiful way that you can start to heal together is to take small steps towards vulnerability. And when I say vulnerability, I don't mean your heart is wide open, that you just freely trust. You give the person the benefit of a doubt with discernment and in a way that makes you feel safe. Remember that. That, just to share with you, that's my definition of vulnerability. That's really important. There's such a misconception about what vulnerability really is. It might be different for you, and that's okay. But I'm sharing with you in the context of what I'm sharing vulnerability here in today's video, what it means for me. All right. So also, for example, you can share that one personal thought or feeling at a time that makes you feel vulnerable, right? So another point also is physical touch to reconnect. Hug, holding hands, deep pressure techniques, all of this can also really, really help. Because one thing that I really would like to put a lot of emphasis on is that avoidance doesn't mean that you don't love your partner. It means that your nervous system sees connection as a risk. And the key to retrain your brain to feel safe in love again is really, really important. And that is to sometimes just challenge yourself that this avoidance is actually reinforcing the pain that you're in. That's one way of challenging it, as an example. Now, another way that you can heal together with the partner and what they can also do to help you is if you love someone who has been through trauma, you might sometimes feel like nothing that you do is enough. You might sometimes feel quite confused by maybe sudden emotional shifts. You might feel quite afraid of triggering them, but also afraid of walking on eggshells forever, right? But here's the truth. You can't fix their trauma, but you can create a safe space for healing, like just holding that safe space. Now, here's what a supportive partner can do. Learn, for example, about trauma responses, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, so that you can understand their reactions as well. You can say, for example, I am here, instead of saying calm down. Calm down doesn't make sense to the nervous system. But to say I am here, that registers to the nervous system, I'm not alone, I'm not going to be abandoned, I have a compassionate witness. Also hold space for emotions without trying to problem solve immediately. Sometimes people just need to be heard. They don't always need a solution, right? It's that pent up energy that just needs to come out. And sometimes once it's out, it's over. The day goes on. It's not always the case, but sometimes that is what's needed. What you can also do is to encourage self-regulating tools like deep breathing, movement, and also grounding. And remind them that they are safe, they're loved, and they're not alone. Now, things not to do is to take their reactions personally. It's not about you. There's a 99.99999% time that it's not about you, it's about their past. Don't force them also to open up before they are ready. Don't also dismiss their emotions as dramatic or overreacting. Sometimes if they have a hyperactive amygdala, it's that knee-jerk reaction. It's a reaction that just happens without actually being able to think it through, or sometimes to catch it in time in order to make different decisions maybe in that moment. You see, the goal is to be their anchor, not their savior. If you're trying to be their savior, you're going to sink in the process. They don't need you to fix them. They just need you to stand beside them as they heal. But here's the other question, and something that I've had to ask a lot of my clients. When I see that the person who is not as traumatized as their partner suffers tremendously to the point where it's now borderline, where being with that person is becoming traumatic. I've seen clients also who, for example, were in relationships with people who had very severe trauma, and they walked out of those relationships with full-blown PTSD. Right? So it's really a matter of asking yourself, is this something that you feel ready to see you to help see, where you can see yourself seeing this through with that person, instead of positioning yourself as their rock and then realizing, oh God, this is not for me, I can't do this, and then leaving, because now you're going to leave a very big empty space in their life. And that, of course, is their responsibility. Maybe find a therapist, help them to, and redirect them to someone who can help them. I'm not saying leave the relationship. I'm saying find a professional maybe that they can lean on more for emotional healing and support as well. Now, there's also really great ways for rewiring the brain for love and for safety, because trauma rewires the brain for survival, but healing can actually rewire it for connection. Now, there are science-backed ways to train your nervous system to feel safe again in love. And one of them, for example, could be safe touch and deep pressure. You can hug one another for at least 20 seconds. It releases oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone. You can also use, for example, like a weighted blanket during moments of anxiety. You can also hold hands while breathing deeply to sync the nervous system. Now, why does this work? You see, touch regulates the nervous system much faster than words. And another point that works really well is daily check-ins to actually build emotional safety. So every day what you can do is ask each other, how are you feeling today? Share one thing that made you happy, and maybe then one challenge without judgment. Without judgment, without trying to go into fixing mode, just sharing. And it's important also that during this time to actually make eye contact and physically reconnect. Even just a few moments of presence can make the world of a difference. And the reason why this works is that this consistency rewires the brain for safety, security, and trust as well. And if this is you, then one thing that you might find also, if you're struggling in your relationship because of this trauma stress, this is going to be an excellent source for you. A really, really good book. You'll find it at evettebooks.com. And also, if you're struggling with boundaries in your relationship, this is also going to be a really good book for you. This book is fantastic also for romantic, intimate relationships. And if you want to learn more about trauma Decoded, this is going to be an excellent book and source for you as well. So just to share here with you as well, final thought is love really is a healing force. And trauma makes you believe that love is dangerous, temporarily or very unreliable. But the right relationship really can also be a space for reawakening if both partners are willing to grow together. It takes teamwork to make a dream work, remember? So ask yourself, are we healing together or are we just triggering each other? Are we creating a safe space for growth, or are we just stuck in old cycles and we're hurting each other? What's one small step that we can take today to build deeper trust and connection? Because listen, the truth is, healing is possible, love is possible, and you are worthy of both. So drop a comment which part of today's video resonated the most with you, and let's talk about it. So remember to subscribe, stay up to date, and I love you guys. And until next time, be the light that you are. And remember, if you want to learn more about stored emotions in the body and how they can even be hiding behind ailments, tension, pain, negative thoughts, beliefs, any challenges that you're having in your body, there's going to be stored messages. So remember to go grab your copy of Metaphysical Anatomy. It's a big book of 722 medical ailments and then the emotions that are suppressed behind them as well. You'll be also finding powerful questions in this book that can really truly help you to get started on your healing journey. And you can find your copy at evettebooks.com.